Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. I'm delighted to welcome you all here. My name is Alissa Sklar. I'm the Vice President of GIS Planning, a service from the Financial Times, and I am speaking to you from Montreal, Canada, and I'm delighted to have some guest presenters with us today. I'm going to introduce them, and then I'm just going to say a couple words about how we run our webinars before we begin our program. So I'm delighted to have with us Fernando Ballesta, from the Director of Foreign Investments and Industrial Infrastructures in Invest in Murcia in Spain. I've got Gavin Smyth, the City Marketing Manager from Invest in Glasgow from Scotland, and Andreas Göthberg, from the Head of FDI from Business Region Göteborg, Sweden. Hopefully I pronounced those correctly. I did my best here. Thank you all, gentlemen, for joining us here this afternoon. And so with that, what I'd love to do is turn this over to you. We're going to run the webinar by going one at a time with each of our panelists speaking about their regions, and then we're going to take some questions and have some conversation towards the end. And so with that, we're going to start with Fernando. It's lovely to have you here. Thank you very much. Tell us a little bit about what's been going on in Murcia this past year.
Well, thank you, Alissa. Thank you very much for introducing me. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you to GIS Planning and FDI for organizing these sessions. I think they are very useful for all of us, not only for the panelists, but for all of the people working in economic development and in investment attraction like we do. So thank you for organizing this event. Well, actually, I am the manager of the Foreign Direct Investment Department and Industrial Infrastructures in the region of Murcia, which is a small region in Spain, the southeast of Spain in the Mediterranean rim. For all of you that doesn't know the region, it's a 1.5 million people region, very touristic with nice weather. Tourism for us is very important. Also industrial. Okay, we have a very important industrial port here and very important industrial investments. So, but it's a small region, no? Not very well. We don't have a strong brand name like, for example, Madrid or Barcelona, other destinations in Spain have. So in the last year, we've been, trying to keep with the pandemic effect, which is all over the economy, and trying to keep up our activity on investment attraction. The organization that I work for, it's an investment promotion agency, but it's an economic development organization. So my department, the one dealing with investments, is just one of the 5 departments here. Info, which is the name of the organization, is a big development agency. We have services for innovation, entrepreneurs, financing, European projects, foreign trade. So we reunite a very wide range of services for companies, and I think that is one of our strongholds here in Murcia. This is not very familiar with other economic development agencies around Spain, which normally all of these services are divided into different bodies, into different organizations, but we are lucky enough in Murcia to have this under the same roof. So I'm saying this because for us, it's been very challenging in this last year, not only because of the situation our companies in the region had to go through and still are going through, and the impact of the pandemic was, it got us all on our working. So from one day to other, we needed to, to just like anyone else, go home and do telework and prepare all of the IT systems, and at the same time trying to, for example, talking about my job, trying to keep up with all of the projects that we have going on, no? All of the projects from investing companies that we have in our portfolio, and that was really, challenging, difficult, because one day you can, travel all over, and the next day you cannot do anything, and that was a lot of impact. So in our case, apart from dealing with the pandemic situation and all of the health particularities that we needed to go through, and the sanitary situation and all that, what we try is to concentrate on the projects that we already had going on, and on those projects. So those were projects that we already have in the pipeline, projects that already were negotiating the investment in the region, and the reinvestments. Okay, and because we had a few greenfield projects that we thought that they were going to be very difficult to land. Okay, as it happened afterwards, no. Because it's, people needs to travel. People, when they are negotiating an investment, you can exchange information. You can have, okay, we cannot have presential meetings, but we can have electronic meetings, or and teleconferences. You can speak, you can send over information, you can put your arguments up front. But at the end of the day, the people need to travel, they need to visit, they need to do the site location, they need to meet people, meet collaborators, and that was very, very difficult. So only the projects that were already planning their investments here, those are the ones that successfully become a reality this year. And also the reinvestments, okay, the companies that already were present here in our region. One special thing about our agency is that, and which is sometimes different from other agencies, I don't know, Andreas and Gavin, maybe later they can speak about their agencies. We do not only work for foreign investors, we work for foreign companies, but we work for Spanish companies as well. So any Spanish company willing to locate in Murcia, we will do the job for them. And even the Murcian companies, the genuine Murcian companies. So we work in investment projects, no matter where they are coming from. So, having all the local portfolio and also other Spanish investors that were already present in the region, that saved in some way our numbers. So in the last year, I think we were able to confirm 19 projects, investment projects. The majority of them are reinvestments. 4 or 5 projects are greenfield projects. We could secure 1,200 jobs. Within those 19 projects are big projects. For example, we managed to land and secure a big investment from Amazon. We had a previous one on the previous year, on the year 2019. But in this case, we got a fulfillment center, 1,000 people, fulfillment center from Amazon, and that was a project that was already on the table. So we were capable of getting all of the permits and licenses before they closed all of the frontiers, and it was just a few days before only, and all of the rest of the projects are really local projects, reinvestments, but with some big names like those ones, no? And since then, we've been working on those projects, and now it looks like the situation is being better. We are starting to hear that some trade shows, some organizations are launching presentations and trade shows, MIPIM, for example, and they're supposedly, and we look forward to it, are going to happen in September, October, November. Maybe the vaccine situation is improving all of this, and we are really looking forward to that, because we've been, for me myself, I've been more than a year without getting on a plane, and for people that are working on investment attraction, that used to be on the road all the day, and it's kind of weird not to do that, no? I don't know if I am talking too much, Alissa, or you want to make another question? If not, I can.
This is great. This is really, really interesting. Yeah, absolutely. Would you be able to say a couple of words just about if you have any particular strategies or things that are happening in place to rebuild and work towards recovery right now? Any initiatives?
Sure. Well, yeah, I told you before that we are a small region, so we are small region, but kind of successful for investment projects. If Invest in Murcia, we were founded in our economic development organization was founded in the 80s, in the 1980s, okay, when Spain became a part of the European Union. But the investment department was founded on 2001, so it's been like 20 years, no? So if we compare all of the projects, the investment projects that we have worked over that period of time, compared to the ones that we have confirmed as an investment for the region, we have a 24% confirmation rate. That percentage has incremented to 36% in the last 5 years. Okay, so actually, currently, we got one out of 3 projects which we work for, no? And I think that's a good rate, no, for an investment attraction. I've been here since 2001, so I have 20 years experience on this sector. I think it's a good rate. But what we have found in the last years, more, you know, that has gotten more success to us, is to make like a guerrilla marketing type of, and for that sense, I think technology can help us a lot. In the beginning of the last year, actually before the pandemic, in our strategic plan, we introduced a new concept, or a new, not really a new concept, a new objective, which is that we want to be the technology most advanced IPA, investment promotion agency of Spain. Okay. And we have thought about developing some technology products for investing companies, so they could do different things through technology. They could explore our territory through technology, and we have implemented some technology tools, some of them from your company, GIS Planning. And I think that's the future of the industry. And for smaller region than us, I think it's very convenient, and it's very, you know, it's a good point to make this kind of marketing. In some period of these 20 years, I've worked for bigger, not bigger agencies, because the size of the agency was similar, but for bigger territories. I work for Invest in Madrid for a while, and well, investment pours into Madrid all the time. No? It's the capital city of Spain. It's a very well-known city. It's you know, the economy thrives over there. So with very little effort, you're gonna have projects over there. But for regions like me, you know, you gotta go there. You gotta let people know that there's a place called Murcia, and that has this and this and this advantage. So as I told you before with the rates, once you break the ice, once they give you the opportunity to work on some project, 1 out of 3 projects that we confirm it for the region. Okay, so our challenge right here is to get more projects to work for. Okay, and I think the technology can help economic development organizations like us a lot.
That's great. Okay, thank you. Very interesting. Excellent. Okay, well, I have a few questions for you, but what we'll do is we'll go through all 3 of you, and then we'll take a look at that. So thank you, Fernando. I really appreciate that. Gavin, I'm going to turn this over to you now. Let us know what's been going on in Scotland and in Glasgow in particular. Oh, you're muted. We'll need you to unmute yourself.
I was back in the room?
Yep.
Perfect, thank you. So afternoon to Fernando and Andreas, and to everyone on the call. Special thanks to Alissa and the GIS planning team for the invite today to participate on behalf of the City of Glasgow. So the last 14 months have been a period I'm not likely to forget. It was actually just last January when I began my new role as City Marketing Manager within the Invest Glasgow office before the pandemic and the first lockdown hit. So since then, I've spent nearly all my time working from home, not to mention juggling the homeschooling of a 5-year-old for 2 months at the start of this year. So that time just confirmed to me that I'm not destined to be a teacher. So one of the first things we did as a city in Glasgow was establish the Glasgow Economic Recovery Group, or we call it GERG, in the wake of the COVID-19 lockdown in March 2020, which basically halted non-essential economic activity with the aim of developing a response to the immediate challenges of supporting the local economy. The membership of the group came from Glasgow City Council, which I work for, and representatives of the business, academic, trade union and third sectors. Now, the group had been considering the current economic situation in Scotland. If GDP levels have been falling like 7% between February and March 2020, and the impact's been greater in some sectors than others, notably accommodation and food services and arts, culture and recreation. So at the moment, the Scottish Fiscal Commission forecasts the Scottish economy will decline 5% in the first quarter of 2021, but it's due to recover with a 7.5% increase next year. It's recognised that business support was and remains crucial, and cash flow and lower levels of turnover remain a problem for many businesses as a whole. Now, to support businesses affected by the lockdown restrictions in the city, the council has been administering a range of business grants made available by the Scottish Government. To date, over £200 million has been paid out to businesses, with discussions ongoing with the Scottish Government on future grant funding, and that's taken a massive effort over the course of the last 14 months, where many officers, including ourselves in West Glasgow, were seconded to help in that regard and support and protect the business base. So an action plan has been delivered to meet many of the economic challenges that we're facing with the pandemic, and that includes access, business, investment, skills in the labour market, digital connectivity, innovation, as well as trade and investment. Among the actions delivered has been the creation of a city centre task force with membership from the local, national and UK government, the Glasgow Chamber of Commerce and representatives from the retail, hospitality and events sector. And this was created through the recognition of the challenges facing the city centre, and these sectors in particular, who have been hit hard over the last year, and as members to develop a range of actions to support city centre recovery before and during the lifting of restrictions. One of the key asks we had of the Scottish Government early on was the scaling up and replication of a local programme, which we called the Glasgow Guarantee, which was designed to support people most affected by the economic impact of the pandemic, particularly those leaving school, college and university. So at the end of the summer last year, in response, the Scottish Government announced a £120 million Young Persons Guarantee Programme. So it's a scheme specifically aimed to help people aged 16 to 24 access employment, training, volunteering or education. And we're working with partner bodies at a local, national level to deliver this programme. Also, the contribution to economic recovery at the film and broadcast sector, which is a very important sector for Scotland and for the West and in Glasgow in particular, was boosted earlier this year when joint funding from the City Council and the Scottish Government allowed us to develop or to start development work on a TV studio and drama production hub in the centre of the city. And this hub will drive job creation, skills development and growth in the supply chain of this vibrant sector. We're also working on something which we term the Glasgow Narrative, which is basically allows us to articulate the city's business story to an international audience, based around 10 core claims for the city and underpinned by a substantial evidence base to back that up. It highlights the key city strengths, including sector specialisms, skills, talent, and a rapidly expanding innovation district development. And it's designed for both external audiences and city partners to drive consistency of messaging and allow them to augment their own individual marketing efforts. Alongside this, we've developed with partners such as GIS Planning a site selection data portal to help drive further inward investment and to showcase a shop window for the city region in terms of its asset base and economic drivers, as well as to shine a light on key development opportunities. There are two major projects that have been identified as priorities for economic recovery, specifically for Glasgow and the surrounding region. One is called Clyde Mission. So Clyde Mission is a long-term mission-focused partnership led by the Scottish Government alongside local authorities and the academic, private and third sectors. It seeks to make the River Clyde in Glasgow an engine of sustainable and inclusive growth for the city, for the region and for Scotland. So today, over £13 million has been allocated to a range of initiatives across sectors, and a further £25 million is committed to developing low-carbon heat and energy solutions. The other main project or major project of scale is what we call the Glasgow Metro project, and this is like a new level of public transport provision to serve and improve connectivity within the Glasgow conurbation. It's set to include a combination of bus, rapid transit, tram, light rail and or metro rail, including a direct rail link from Glasgow Airport to Glasgow City Centre to improve cross-region connectivity. Also, the availability of a long list of what we call shovel-ready infrastructure projects which can attract funding and drive immediate economic recovery, is currently being considered, and details of these were going to be presented by the Council to the Scottish and UK governments. Also, the links between economic and social recovery have been recognised with the ratification of a development of a community wealth building plan for Glasgow, with increasing evidence that such an approach brings benefits in health, well-being and greater equality and inclusion. Now, the economic development team, of which I'm part, is also working on a new Glasgow economic strategy in recognition that the pandemic has changed the city's economy, like other cities across the world. This new strategy is going to focus on 3 challenges facing the city: productivity, inclusive growth and climate change, and that's going to be delivered later on this year. Now, in what's been one of the brightest spots for the city in recent times, Glasgow has emerged as one of the UK's top 3 fastest growing technology investment hubs, and that's according to Tech Mission report. The tech companies in Glasgow attracted £43 million in venture capital last year, which is up 150% from the previous year. That's some going for a year beset with COVID-19 lockdowns and restrictions. Real estate investors in Glasgow all see tech's growth potential. In January this year, the City Council granted planning permission for a £100 million city centre mixed-use development that's going to include Grade A office space for tech firms. This development is right next door to Glasgow Queen Street Station, itself the subject of a £120 million redevelopment, and is located in Scotland's first innovation district, the Glasgow City Innovation District. This innovation district is a £500 million hub of excellence led by the University of Strathclyde, and it brings together researchers and high growth businesses alongside science, technology, digital and creative startups. In Glasgow's nearby International Financial Services District, we've got a new £140 million building being developed that will become the new European tech hub for JP Morgan Chase. The US Investment Bank employs around 2,000 people in Glasgow and says it's the largest technology employer and recruiter in Scotland. Its team has developed complex software and technology services for use by JP Morgan across the globe. Tech roles are also key to the £400 million campus being developed in the south bank of the city's River Clyde by Barclays to host its new Northern European hub. This will house the bank's technology functions and operational team and will double Barclays' workforce in Scotland to around 5,000 people. Alongside the big corporates, Glasgow hosts a growing community of fintech firms with specialisms including payments, blockchain, open banking and regtech. Now, Glasgow's digital tech economy is now the largest in Scotland and one of the fastest growing in the UK, and the tech sector here employs about 34,000 people and a turnover of more than 1 billion. So access to talent and skills is a key attraction for investors across a range of specialist sectors. And these include fintech, data science, software engineering, Internet of Things, digital media and cloud computing. Also, the city produces an impressively wide range of world-class science and technology expertise. It was runner-up for the European Capital of Innovation Award, and it's got developed commercial edges in nanotechnology, precision medicine, digital media, climate technology and renewables, and advanced manufacturing. It's also the global capital of the space and satellite industry, and has been a UK leader for fintech in terms of meetups and AI expertise. We've also got the creative and cultural sectors, which are also benefiting from the city's technology expertise. So recently it was announced that the BBC, the University of Glasgow and the Data Lab would be collaborating to develop new forms of conversational AI. So that basically means you've got scientists at the university working on technology that could significantly enhance the capabilities behind virtual assistants like Alexa and Google Assistant. Glasgow was named the UK Cultural and Creative Capital by the European Commission a couple of years back, and it's also the UK's first UNESCO City of Music, and also second among the core cities for producing creative graduates. So we've got one of the largest concentrations of creative enterprises spanning sectors including film and TV, advertising, publishing and design, web and digital media, animation, software and games development. Broadcasters such as BBC Scotland and Scottish Television are headquartered in the heart of Glasgow's digital media quarter. And you've also got the other national broadcaster, Channel 4, that selected Glasgow as one of its 2 creative hubs across the UK. Also home to 5 institutions of higher education and the only UK city outside of London to have 2 of these universities ranked in the top 40 nationally for their research. So you have many specialisms there, including the University of Strathclyde in Glasgow, and the technologies that they focus on and develop are the heart of the new innovation districts that I mentioned before, the first of which was the Glasgow City Innovation District. Also, we're developing another district on the banks of the River Clyde called the Glasgow Riverside Innovation District, and that will be anchored by another one out near the airport called the Advanced Manufacturing Innovation District Scotland. And last, and by no means least, and arguably one of the major milestones for the city this year, will be in November when Glasgow enjoys the privilege of hosting the delayed UN Climate Change Conference, or COP26. So 6 months out from that, the momentum is building fast. The change of administration in the White House has been catalytic. So hearing Special Envoy Kerry say, in Glasgow, all nations must raise ambitions together or we will all fail together, and really does focus minds on what's at stake here. It's a unique opportunity for the city to present its sustainability credentials to the world by demonstrating some of the forward-thinking projects of scale in areas such as energy, transport, and digital infrastructure across the built environment, residential and the public realm. And it's also a prime opportunity for attracting major green investment to support our ambitions and target of becoming carbon neutral by 2030. And for me personally, I see it as a strategic communications opportunity in ensuring those broader digital conversations around sustainability, business, technology, talent and culture come together with Glasgow at its heart. After what's been an incredibly tough year for everyone, we're looking forward to that one. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. Well, that definitely will be exciting in November to have the world's eyes on Glasgow. Thank you for explaining all of this to us. Andreas, I'm going to turn this over to you. Let me share, give you panelist controls, and you can tell us what's been going on in Göteborg in Sweden.
Sure. Again, thank you for having me as well. My name is Andreas Göthberg, and I'm representing an organization called Business Sweden Göteborg, which is an economic development agency, very much like the one explained, like the one in Murcia, actually, where we do a lot of different things, and one department work with establishment and investments. So we also do a lot of innovation projects, clustering, and SME development. And of course, then international marketing of the city of Gothenburg, or the whole region, of course. Gothenburg, I mean, rankings is not everything, but of course we're proud of them. So whenever we get the opportunity, we can show them that we are ranked pretty high in different rankings, which we're very proud of. And of course, a little bit in our DNA, we work a lot with sustainability. Sometimes we learn that we forget to talk about it because it's obvious for us, but maybe we're going to be even better in telling the word about that. But we are very high ranked, and we have a lot of different projects aiming towards sustainability. The current situation in our labor market is that we approximately 1.4 million people in the labor market region, and where 50% of the people are working and the rest are young and elderly people. Somewhere 10 to 11% of the, or up to 14% actually, of the people in Sweden living in our region. We are a very export dependent region where we have create 17 to 18% of all the exports from Sweden originating in our region. And even more so, private R&D, which we think is very important, is that 30 to 40% of all private R&D in Sweden actually takes place in our region, which is more than double as much as it should be in comparison to the number of inhabitants that we have. We've seen a great development over the last 20 years. Of course, we had some downturns in this, but the region has been growing with close to 250,000 inhabitants in 20 years. And we've been able to create a lot of new jobs in the same time. And I mean, we're working hard to get the same development for the coming 20 years. So we have a program up until 2035 where we should create another 120,000 new jobs, and the region should grow by 145,000 new inhabitants. And of course, to make that happen, we need a lot of investments, and we need more jobs, and we need more foreign companies coming to our region. And we know that the foreign companies, they invest heavily as well, and actually, in average, they invest more than the regular Swedish company does. Apart from being in percentage the leader in innovation in Sweden, actually this year we moved up to the first place, or also in numbers. So 41 billion Swedish crowns was invested in R&D in Gothenburg and 39 in Stockholm, which is it's a remarkably high number since Stockholm is approximately double the size of our region. Of course, COVID-19 hit us pretty hard as well, even though different in the beginning, since you might know that Sweden have had a little bit different approach to COVID than many other countries, and we haven't seen any nationwide lockdowns. But in March and April last year, de facto Sweden closed down as well, because it was a shock and what is happening. The supply chain didn't work at all with Europe going in lockdowns. So a lot of big factories had to close down here as well due to that. And of course, we saw a heavy decrease in new leads coming into us. Actually, during March and April 2020, we got two new leads registered in our system. And we usually average maybe, I don't know, but at least 20 per month. So it was, nothing happened. Of course, like everyone else said, hard or even impossible to participate in trade shows and matchmaking, where we usually find these really good contacts that we work with and create new leads from them. So we had to work with the pipeline. We had to work a lot with expansions. But even in the pipeline, we hit some problems, because if you want to invest a lot of money into a foreign region, you really need to come there. You need to visit, you need to feel it. And it was in some cases possible to make it happen, but in most cases it simply hasn't been possible. So we have a lot of cases that are postponed or timed out, because it's still not possible to do everything. Maybe it's starting off a little bit now, but it's been really tough. But what we've seen in the same time has been a heavy increase in talent inquiries. So from talents abroad contacting us for advice and information about how to come to our region. We offer everything digital, and we started to online counseling and online advisory in August. And since the beginning of October, every single slot that we offer have been fully booked. So we see a heavy increase there. And in total, we had a 60% compliance to our targets during 2020. So we still kind of happy that we managed to run some projects and to actually make some investments and establishments happen. So what we have done in the meantime then, so we started a lot of new initiatives, of course. We have done some campaigns, targeted campaigns with the movies online and in social media and elsewhere on different, for us, important sectors and markets. We started something local here that we call the company emergency room, where companies could call us and we could help them with advice on government grants and all the different regulations. And we very fast also realized that this is very important information to reach out to both our foreign-owned companies, but also to talents being here in the region. So we did 2 different versions of a newsletter, or like a compendium with all the information from the government and all the different grants that were available. And I think we did it up into 12 different issues. So each time we had some new information, we spread new information that way. Because during last summer, there was a lot of disinformation about the situation in Sweden. So we thought this is a good way to actually reach out with the current situation. We also managed to finalize and to start something called International House Gothenburg that we actually opened up last week, which is going to be it's a soft landing and welcoming center for talents coming to the region. Of course, mostly digital right now, but it will be available for physical meetings, and where you can get help with all the issues that you have when you come to a new region. We also started to targeting selected markets where we start off with some campaigns, and then we set up webinars, and we were also work with consultants in the same times to try to find leads, to find interesting people, to participate in the webinars, and then from that take it on to have a future conversation with them and trying to see if there anything that we can develop to a lead. And for these markets, we're also planning then to do something physically when it's possible. So to actually travel there and to create a seminar physically, maybe in 2022 spring or something like that. We're also trying out to work with digital site visits. We don't think that that will overcome the problem that for a big investment you really need to come to the region, but for early interest and so on, we can offer digital site visits on certain topics. So mobility is really important in Gothenburg with the big automotive industry. So we can do a site visit with 360 camera views, and you can visit science parks and innovation arenas and different things. So we try to do that. We're also offering all courses and everything that other parts of our company has been offering. We do it online. We started off right away when the pandemic situation started, and we actually turned out to be, we learned a lot. So now we know to do it on different levels, that we can do it easy for the small group, and we can do it very advanced for more important meetings and bigger meetings, where we actually do it as a TV show, more or less. Like Glasgow, we also got the assignment from the city to launch a city center development project to reopen the city center, and what kind of initiatives is necessary there. We're also focusing on the connectivity to and from our region. We need to rebuild that, because Gothenburg was, we had a decent connectivity to all the major hubs in Europe before this the pandemic started. And now it's kind of tricky. I mean, we have daily flights to some of the hubs, but not to all of them, and something that we need to rebuild, because we think it's really important to attract both investments and talents, that it's actually easy to come here and easy to travel in for shorter visits. And in this time, as last thing I want to mention, is also that the city of Gothenburg, together with Volvo Cars, launched a project called the Gothenburg Green City Zone, which is an area that includes major part of the inner city. It includes one of the science parks and our event arena, where from 2030 it will be completely emission-free transportations within this zone. But much earlier, maybe in 2023, we're going to start off different projects where you can come here, you can try out new technology, emission-free, autonomous, different charging possibilities, and innovations like that. So that's something we're going to start. We're actually starting it right now. It was launched 2 months ago. So we hope we're going to create some innovation hub connected to that, where we can welcome foreign companies that have ideas in that area to actually come and develop it here. So that was a little bit about the current situation in Gothenburg.
Excellent, thank you. Very interesting. I appreciate you walking us through all of that. I'm just going to bring this back up on the screen. So I've been taking notes as all three of you have been speaking, because there's some really interesting, I think, parallels between some of the things that you've been talking about. One of the things that I heard from all of you was this need, when people can't come and visit, and you can't just hop on a plane or a train and visit other regions or other companies, is the need to craft and control the online narrative. And I know, Gavin, you spoke very specifically about that as an initiative from Glasgow, but Fernando and Andreas, both of you spoke about the need for your regions to attract investment from elsewhere and to take specific steps online to be able to do that in order to fill the pipeline and attract investment from other places. And I wonder if you might talk about ways in which the pandemic experience has changed how you do that, has changed what that narrative is supposed to look like, and maybe changed the way in which you approach that online investment attraction business. Oh, you're muted, Fernando.
Yes, do you want to go ahead? Well, I think that the investment, the process of an investment of an international, and if it's international, it's even more important. The process of how an investment is decided, and how the investment criteria is decided, and the process of making a long list and then short lists and going to the right place, that hasn't changed. But what has changed maybe is the approach, and how companies and people and consultants are doing this job, no? Maybe in this last year, because of the difficulties of having a personal touch, no, personal experience through, traveling to the place and meeting people and talking directly to people, that has changed. No, we now do everything online. We have meetings online all the time, and that's been for me, it's been a change of how we work daily, no, because we were more used to meeting people personally. We were used to having many visits, and maybe in 1 month we could have, like, I don't know, 8 to 10 site visits with different companies, and that was impossible to do all of a sudden. So the technology approach, it's really important. I think it has come this year and is here to stay, because now we even have electronic meetings with people from the Murcia region, no? So people who is, we could visit those people, and we are holding those meetings like electronically, and it's a time saver. It's it's more specific meetings. You go right to the point. There is no, we as Spanish people, we like to talk about family and weather and what you done last weekend and all that. So electronic meetings are more, to the point. So we save time, not to speak about the traveling time to the place. And this is just an example. I think that technology is going to help us a lot on this. My only concern is that I heard Andreas with the 300, with those videos to look to the parks, and I have seen those products. No, I'm interested on incorporating those products to my marketing material. But I think that's one step forward. But I mean, it's not enough. I mean, at the end of the day, if a greenfield project, if a company that has never been in your region is going to make an investment, I mean, they gotta come. They personally, they cannot buy a site in an industrial park if they don't come. No, I mean, at the end of the day, the investment, they materialize in one single physical place, whether it's an office, an industrial park, a logistic area, whatever. No, so that is not going to change. But we can think of technology project. On my first, when I talked at the beginning of the seminar, I told you about our strategy of being the technology most advanced IPA agency in Spain. So we are developing a number of tools that we call them invest tools, no? And I think they are going to make things easier for companies to do all this decision process. No, they can speed up the decision process, and they can make this process very much easier than it was before, and even for us. So, for example, look at our intelligent site location tool. This is something that we used to do manually. I mean, me and my team used to, do the site location, get all the reports on economic data around that site, get the reports on how many companies are there, what's their turnover, what is the employment rate, all of that, all of these economic tables. We used to do that ourselves manually, but now you can do it, with a click. No, and with just 5 minutes or 10 minutes, you can have all this information very well presented and all that. And I think that's that's its future, and it's the way to go. And the pandemic situation, what has done is that it has speeded all this tendency to use these kind of tools. But I think they are useful to speed up all of the processes of an investment project. But we will still need planes, flights, airports, meet the personal touch and visiting the places. We will still need that. But you know, maybe that's something to learn from the pandemic situation, that all this technology has come to help us do our job. And I think we are going to be in Murcia and many other regions are going to be incorporating more technology behind the investment attraction strategies. That's my opinion.
Okay, interesting. Thank you. Gavin or Andreas, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, one thing, and I would totally agree with Fernando, and that's why I mentioned that as well, that we need to rebuild connectivity, because I mean, people don't even buy a used bicycle for £100 without taking a look at it first. And I mean, to invest $10 million without coming here, if you haven't been here before, it's not going to happen, and we see that now. So we really don't think that the digital site visits would overcome that, but it could help other cases, other leads in other part of the process, maybe, to get a better understanding. But we really need to bring people in. But we think the online presence, we continuously try to improve it. The GIS planning system, of course, but a lot of different guides for companies and for talents. So we help them doing much more desk research before they actually pick up the phone and contact us or send the first email. And that we think is important, since so many global projects are run by consultants. They do a lot of research before reaching out to us, and then we would like to present them with the best and the most current information. So that's why we think it's a really important thing to do.
Okay. Thank you. Kevin, any
Yes,
thoughts?
I would agree with Fernando and Andreas that digital is not going to be a replacement for in-person, but it can certainly help with that first phase of desktop research, as we know that most people are doing that online anyway. So if we can collect the right information and put it into one hub or one source for them, it simplifies that process and allows us, hopefully, from a Glasgow perspective, to have a better chance that Glasgow is included in the shortlisting process for incoming investors and businesses. And that's what we want to do. We want to be part of the conversation, you know, and being included in that. And that's what we find, you know, and the sharper our tools are to help us to make that process smoother and to give them all the information they need, and to also crucially to make sure that the turnaround time from the inquiry to delivering the information is quick. Then that certainly helps puts us in the frame. And you know, certainly tools like Zoom Prospector tool for site selection helps. We're also moving all our collateral material to digital publishing tools, so moving from static PDFs to interactive digital publications to make those much more snackable, which means that people can take as much or as little detail from it as they need, rather than having to wade through a 40-page PDF document. So we're transforming a lot of our information into that. We're also investing in new CRM to sharpen up that process and to connect back to our efforts for prospecting through social media, etc., and also rebuilding our website as well, because we have an opportunity there to create a proper one-stop shop, again, supporting things like Zoom Prospector, but also the wider prospects as well, trying to put all that relevant information into one place for them. And if the information is not there, then we can point them in the right direction. So a lot of it is to try and make that job easier for them, and to make the consideration, hopefully, of the city and city region more of a logical progression and so on. But ultimately, of course, they're going to have to come in person. But hopefully, you know, once they've done that work, then and you become a serious contender at that point, when you're in the shortlist and the need for a physical visit is kind of necessitated, at that point, hopefully, you can welcome them to your city and you can give them that one-to-one support, which is going to be so vital to their decision point of whether or not they invest or not.
Interesting. Okay, so what I'm hearing from all of you, and this is something that I think I've heard in other Roundtable webinars, is there's been this kind of leap forward in using or expediting the use of digital tools to maybe shorten the desktop research side of things, to making sure you're part of the conversation. I really like the way you described that, actually, Gavin, to if you've got the information out there as people are doing the initial research and making those long lists, they can access that data. They can do the 360, tours as you're describing, Andreas, and get that there. I think you're quite right. At the end of the day, you're not going to make a multi-million-dollar investment without actually seeing the properties. And I think there's something to be said about the interpersonal relationship. We get to the point faster in a Zoom call, but sometimes you need to have a glass of wine or share a pint of beer with someone when they come in and create those interpersonal interactions, so people feel comfortable making that. And I think all of you spoke to the issue of sustainability. Of course, being able to do some of this digitally without having to get on an airplane and travel somewhere to do the initial research certainly it helps with that as well. So quite interesting. I know we're running a little bit short on time, but one of the things that all of you spoke about that I think I'd love to hear your thoughts on is this idea of remote workers. Workforce attraction, so important for every region. We hear a lot in the press about the growth of the teleworker. Some will go back to offices, some maybe won't. And of course, that means that some people can move to different places and still work in companies elsewhere. What has that meant for your region? What do you see going forward? Is that something that represents an opportunity for you? Is it, a kind of a neutral thing? Or do you see this as a kind of challenge for your region?
For us, it's an opportunity. We have had a lot of emails from people, through the webpage asking, for how can they come here, work from here, asking for, some co-working spaces or facilities from which they can work. Because today there are hundreds or thousands of people working around for companies which are far away physically from they, and we have had a lot of increase through the web page of people asking about that. So I guess, it's not one of our objectives. From my agency's objective is not having people to telework from here. But still, this is talent which is coming to your region. That's of course, and it's more knowledge. You can spread the knowledge of your region through the contacts of these people. But it's very interesting, this movement, because I think that places with high quality of life and very cost competitive, like for example Murcia will be, in terms of housing, in terms of cost of living, with a good quality of life, which we have. We can offer a lot of advantages for teleworkers, from all over, really. So, and communications today are are very good everywhere. So it's a good opportunity for regions like us.
Okay, thank you.
We see this opportunity as well. A lot of our companies, global companies, they were in some cases already used to this way of working, and they had to increase it, and all the local staff as well had to work from home. It worked out just fine. I think a lot of people want to come back to the office to meet the colleagues again, but we also see the possibility that it's for some people is of course much easier, more convenient to be able to work wherever you are, and that you actually can be in different regions. You can live in different regions, and we see that a little bit more, and some companies announcing that they're never going to force people back to office and that they can work wherever they are. So of course then they increase their chance of finding the right talent as well. So it's something I think we need to embrace and see that it's the future in some cases, at least.
In some fields, yeah. Okay, thank you. What do you think, Gavin?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think when research was done kind of like deep in the pandemic last year, with a lot of the bigger companies were making these bold statements like, we're never going to have an office again and we're all going to be remote and so on. And they changed their tune, when they were researched more recently, I think, where people realized that, people need often to be together for collaboration, for innovation, that kind of stuff, that can't all be done remotely. There needs to, a lot of companies are keen to foster a sense of culture and so on, and that is a difficult thing to do remotely as well. So I believe the death of the office has been hugely exaggerated, but of course what it will mean, I'm sure, is that employers will have more flexible working practices going forward, I'm sure, whereby there'll be more of a mix of office and remote working based on individual personal needs. I certainly hope so. That seems to be what's reflective of the research and the way that's going, which I think can only be healthy going forward. But it's also interesting as well, I think, in terms of the relative, if you can call it such a thing, the relative winners and losers of COVID at a business sector level, those that have thrived and survived have been those whose workforces are more suited to or can be adapted to remote working, so things like fintech and clean tech and med tech and a lot of these companies whereby you don't really have to be in an office. So those are ones that have managed to pivot quite successfully. But of course, for Glasgow, we have a large service-based economy, so especially hospitality, retail, the event sector, those are things that these are in-person businesses, right. And so these only need to be supported and adapt, and how they're going to be supported and adapted going forward is going to be critical as well. So it's getting the balance right, that you're supporting those who are being hardest hit and have maybe had less access to funding and support and so on, alongside encouraging those companies that can move relatively quickly because of the nature of their businesses and their workforces.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. There are some sectors, you're talking about film and video production. I think all of you spoke of that as well. And there's just some things, tourism, hospitality, absolutely you have to be on site. Just to end ourselves off here, I wonder if each of you could, is there one piece of advice you wish you could have given yourself 14 months ago about the work that you do, or one thing you wish you knew last year when things first hit that would have changed things? I mean, we all hope that we never see another pandemic in our lifetimes, but certainly this has been a completely memorable challenge for all of us. Is there something that you could think of that you wish you'd known last year that you've learned over these past few months?
It's very difficult, Alissa. If I had to come from the future and meet the Fernando in March last year, I don't know what will I tell him. I really don't know, because this is the effect of the pandemic has been the same all over. How well can you prepare? I don't know. Well, maybe in some of the projects that I was dealing with, maybe I will have told March 2021 Fernando, hey, run with this project, run, because this is, in March you're not gonna be able to, to work on this project anymore, or at least it's gonna be put in standby. Maybe that, because it's been, it wasn't. I think nobody was prepared with this for this, and I think we all reacted in very similar ways, and I think the whole world has been impacted. So I don't know what kind of piece of advice could I have given maybe my colleagues Andreas and Gavin. Gives him an idea, because I don't know what I will have told the last year's Fernando.
One thing is to actually understand how long time this would take, because from the beginning everyone said, yeah, it's going to be for 2 months, or after the summer, or to Christmas, and we still don't know actually when things getting back to normal. So that would have been a pretty good advice to understand, okay, this situation that actually just happened in 2 weeks time gonna stay for a year and a half, because then we maybe could have planned a little bit different.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think if I could give some advice, it's almost like be prepared to play the long game, and also for me, use it, and hopefully we have used it as an opportunity to challenge the way you've always done things, because it was a perfect opportunity, I think, to pivot, to accelerate the move to digital, which was already being considered, and to force the hands of many decision makers that, well, we have to change now. It's not just a nice to have, it's a mandatory, and use that to force through change for the better, I think. So, but yeah, I agree with playing the long game, because a couple of months we thought we'll be back to normal, and then what is normal now? So that bit's up for grabs, but I think we're up for the challenge.
Okay, great. All the things that we thought we could never do, and somehow we did over these past 14 months. Well, I want to thank you all so much for taking the time to join us here as panelists. It's just been an absolute pleasure to chat with you. Hopefully we'll all be able to see each other face to face at a conference or trade show or NIPIM somewhere along the lines. But I certainly appreciate your time, and I've learned a lot about your regions. I think all of our attendees here. As I said, I've recorded today's session, so everyone who registered will get a link to this video recording. I wish you all good health and safety and prosperity, and we will be in touch. Thank you all very much. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you very much for having us.
See you soon.
Thank you. Bye.